GOHS Request for Proposal Workshop for Federal Fiscal Year 2023. My name is Scarlett Woods, and I'm the Compliance Manager at GOHS. We appreciate you allowing your schedule some flexibility this week to attend virtually rather than in person. To document your attendance, please type your name and the agency you are representing in the chat box. As we move through the program today, I'm sure questions will come up, so please type any questions you may have in the chat box as well, and we will get them answered. I want to thank the GOHS staff for helping get this program presented today, many of whom are behind the scenes, and the staff who is presenting today will introduce themselves during their individual sections. Can everybody see the RFP?
Yeah, we got it.
You said yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. This is the basis for our presentation today. So make sure you have read it and you're familiar with it. It's got the highway safety problem here for the state, which if you're going to submit an application, you need state data. So we've given it to you. It's got the different program areas that we have federal funding for. So read this. It's got the program parameters, which is basically what we'll be going through today. The eligibility criteria. This is very important as well, because if you submit an application and it's outside this eligibility criteria, then it stands a chance of not even being looked at. So make sure you follow the criteria. Submission process, we'll get through all this as well. The problem ID worksheet, this will be discussed today. Examples of the objectives and activities and evaluations we'll discuss today, but these are some more examples that you can use. Allowable, unallowable costs, nonprofit requirements, and then the agency information form is attachment G, so it'll be the last page in the RFP. You will need to fill this out and get it submitted, excuse me, to GOHS before you'll be able to start your application. So this is very important to get it submitted today if possible. The mission of the Governor's Office of Highway Safety is to educate the public on highway safety issues and facilitate the implementation of programs that reduce crashes, injuries, and fatalities on Georgia roadways. In other words, we need you. Obviously, we just briefly went through the RFP. So again, make sure you're familiar with that and you get the agency form submitted to us today. It's got the problem ID worksheet. Grant terms and conditions are not in the RFP, but they will be available on the website, along with the goals and then any the disclosure forms that GOHS completes. The training information packet, we have several of the cheat sheets also to help you maneuver the application this month. So if you need help after the presentation, you can go back and pull any of those cheat sheets up if you get stuck somewhere, or you can rewatch this presentation. The RFP information, as you'll hear through the presentation, GOHS is data-driven and federal funds must be used in highway safety problem areas across the state. We're here today to encourage your agency to submit an application focused on the highway safety problem in your community. As you may know, the COVID pandemic has really caused havoc on the roadways, and our fatalities and serious injuries are increasing right now. So we do need programs to reduce these fatality numbers. I'm sure you've heard about them. So we need projects. What is needed to apply? Again, please read the request for proposal. There are guidelines in there that must be followed when submitting your application for funds. There must be a need in your area or jurisdiction, and it must align with the state highway safety plan targets that will be discussed later in the presentation. The problem must be clearly defined by using local, state, and national data. We will require your SAM unique entity identifier number and the FEIN, which are all included on that agency form. So make sure you, again, complete that and get it sent to us. All applications must be submitted electronically through our eGOHS Plus system. There are 3 available opportunities. The general application is funding for general highway safety initiatives. It may include government agencies, public safety, nonprofits, and other organizations. The Students Against Destructive Decisions are for high schools across the state. And then the young adult programs are for universities. So most of you are here for the general application. The program areas listed here are what are listed in the RFP. So if you need more information about any of these, just again, refer back to the request for proposal. Okay, so now what? We're here. We need to have a plan. Your agency needs to decide who will be assigned to manage the process, and that includes the application at any point, and then generally that same person will handle the project going forward if it's awarded. And the effective date of any grant awards will be October 1st to align with the federal fiscal year. What can be done? What is your problem, first off? Is it a speed problem? Is it an impaired driving? Do you have a bicycle pedestrian problem? So what can be done to eliminate that problem? And how will the progress of the project be monitored? Does the organization have a budget? Well, if not, you need to get one pretty quick, because that will need to be part of your application. And is the organization willing to accept and implement the project? I mean, if you're here submitting an application, then I would presume you would be willing to implement it. And are you able to adhere to all of the GOHS requirements? And those are listed in the grant terms and conditions. Okay, application components. All GOHS general applications are required to complete each section listed within eGOHS, and these are the different sections which we'll go through today. The first 2 sections are the application project information and general additional information. The project title and summary should be brief but clear on what your proposed project will be focused on. We've got a couple examples here. The project will promote and advance bicycle safety by providing bicycle safety education to various groups of people. Project promotes motorcycle safety by focusing efforts on motorist awareness of motorcycles. So these are just a few examples of the project summaries. They are brief, but GOHS should be able to review them and determine what the focus of your project will be, such as bicycle safety, motorcycle safety, or a law enforcement project focused on speed, impaired driving, and or seatbelt enforcement. The project, let's see, additional general information includes the nonprofit information, and if funds are being sought from other sources for this project. If you are a nonprofit, click the checkbox and another form will open for you to complete, which will be discussed shortly. What is the agency audit period? Generally, examples of an audit period are July 1st through June 30th, October 1st through September 30th, or January 1st through December 31st. Please check with your finance department to get the exact dates. The SAM unique entity identifier is required to be included. Prior to having access in eGOHS, you are required to complete the agency form included within the RFP and send it to GOHS. This form asks for your agency UEI and will be entered by GOHS staff. Okay, for the nonprofits, the listed documents are required by GOHS before we can award federal funds. Once you click the checkbox mentioned in the previous slide, the form will open so these documents can be attached. The nonprofit support letters must be no more than 2 years old, so anything dated 2020 or newer is allowed.